welcome to She's Got God. I am your host, Amanda Bayerle, and I am currently in my closet. I have done this podcast in so many different places. It started out, I'm like doing video all the time, and then just in the last 2 months, I'm like, you know what? Getting it out is better than having an awesome video, YouTube, quality content for you guys. So this is me in my closet because I've heard that the acoustics in a closet is way better. And that is how, oh my gosh, Jenna Kutcher started her podcast, was in her closet. So here we are. It's been a minute. Thank you for listening today and tuning in. If this is your first time listening, I want to welcome you. I created She's Got God as a place for women to get discipled, to hear the word of God, to hear testimonies, to figure out how to live as a woman of God in today's society and what that means based on the Bible, not just what I think, but what the Bible says. And this is, for me, just a place that I can share stories. I've been a Christian my whole life, but I radically encountered God when I was 15 years old and have been living for Him ever since. And got married when I was 18. We just celebrated 13 years of marriage a few weeks ago, and we have 2 beautiful children. And I'm just so blessed. And I just want to shout on the rooftop that when you surrender everything to Jesus, life is amazing. It really is. There are hard times, there are hard seasons, but man, the joy that you feel on the other side of those hard seasons is just amazing. The happiness, the peace, the fulfillment, and just knowing that you're in your calling, you're in the will of God, and you're not confused, you're not burnt out, you're not stressed out. Oh my gosh, stress is just terrible, I just want to be a hippie for Jesus, that's what I want to be. And I feel like if Jesus was here today, he would be like a hippie. And I love that movie, The Jesus Movement. It was so good. If you haven't seen that movie, it is amazing. And it's the story of Lonnie Frisbee. And it's played by Jonathan, I think his last name is Rumi or something like that. But he's the guy who plays Jesus in The Chosen. And that movie is amazing. And he's Lonnie Frisbee's this hippie guy talking about Jesus. And I just love it. It's just about the Jesus movement back in I think it was the 60s. Or the 70s, sorry. So today's episode is actually inspired by a video I was watching today. Girls Gone Bible was on Chris Williamson's YouTube show. And I had no idea that Modern Wisdom had almost 3.7 million subscribers, which is just amazing. That's awesome. So they were on it, and I actually went to go see Girls Gone Bible about a month ago when they came here to Phoenix. I brought my friend, and yeah, it was awesome. It was I thought it was a live podcast recording, but it was just them kind of talking and sharing their testimony and stuff, which was cool. And they had a little worship in the beginning. And so they were on it, and neither of them were married. And they just, were talking about today's culture and marriage and wanting to find an amazing man of God. And this is why it's so hard to find one. And the number one quality that they want in a man is that they love Jesus and that they're anchored, because then they won't ever be swayed. And so as just someone, I respect them so much, what they're doing for the kingdom is so amazing. But I wanted to touch on this because they haven't been through the hard times in marriage yet. And as someone who got married at 18, I married a man who loved Jesus. I mean, he was sold out. He was so on fire. I mean, he was crazy, guys, absolutely nuts for Jesus. And he wouldn't even watch a movie at someone's house. He would just bring his Bible and read his Bible because he just couldn't watch a movie. He was just so watching a movie is pointless, and he'd be at the hospitals, praying for people and going on the streets, doing street evangelism every night to homeless people in San Diego, doing crazy stuff. And as that was like the foundation of our relationship. It was so pure. It was so holy. It was just amazing. And unfortunately and fortunately, there are times in your marriage where it's tested. And, kind of the thing that they were talking about on the podcast was that they know that they can submit to their husband because their husband is fully sold out for Jesus and following him. And I'm kind of here to talk about to the women who are like, okay, well, maybe I didn't marry a man who was sold out for Jesus, or maybe I did, but like he's fallen away. Like, what do you do now? How do you submit to a husband who isn't necessarily following Jesus and sold out for him? Like, how do you still be a Christian woman and married to him? Because it's also not biblical to just divorce your husband because he's not on fire for Jesus. Like, sorry, there's nowhere in the Bible that talks about that. Paul addresses divorce, but he doesn't talk about, hey, yeah, if your husband's like fallen away and doesn't go to church every Sunday, like you can divorce him. Like, it does not say that. So we went through challenges in our marriage and times where I wasn't on fire for Jesus. And also he went through times where he wasn't on fire for Jesus and not necessarily, following what God has called him to do and leading in this marriage. Like, there was a lot of times where I felt like I was leading the marriage. I was the man, and so what did I do in those situations? Well, I probably did not do it perfectly, but I decided to not let his actions affect me. And so I still submitted to him. I still respected him. I still loved him, and I prayed for him. And I think that's the number one thing you can do right now is pray for your husband, intercede, fast, like respect him, love him unconditionally. Do not think that because he isn't perfect and because he isn't doing everything correctly, in the way that God would call him to do, doesn't mean that you should love him any less. And I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians 13, which is the whole chapter of love. Love never gives up. This is out of the Message Bible. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Ouch. How easy is it to do that in our marriage, ladies? Doesn't keep score of sins of others, doesn't revel when others grovel, takes pleasures in the flowering of truth, puts up with anything, trusts God always, always looks for the best, never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Love never dies. Inspired speech will be over someday, praying in tongues will end, understanding will reach its limit. We know only a portion of the truth, and what we say about God is always incomplete. But when the complete arrives, our incompletes will be canceled. When I was an infant at my mother's breast, I gurgled and cooed like an infant. When I grew up, I left those infant ways for good. We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist. But it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then, see it all as clearly as God sees us, knowing him directly just as he knows us. But for right now, until that completeness, we have 3 things to do to lead us toward that consummation. Trust steadily in God, hope unswervingly, love extravagantly, and the best of these is love. And so obviously it's a little bit different translation, but I just think like how often in marriages do people give up love? They call it quits. They don't believe in the other person. And even in marriage, like, yes, I know that that person wronged you. And I always have told people if Nicholas ever cheated on me, I would not leave him, because what we have built on love cannot be broken in a single action. Like, yes, it would hurt and it would be terrible, but love never gives up. Love never loses hope. Like, love sees the best in other people. And so for me, I'm just like, so many people miss it. They miss it because they are keeping score. They're keeping every single little check mark of you sinned, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you're not perfect. And it's like, guys, we are not perfect. I am not perfect. Like, that is the spirit of pride, to be like, I am holier than thou. I'm better than my spouse. I'm more perfect. I don't sin as much. I'm the better person. And look at him and what he's done and what he isn't doing, and judge him. Like, at the end of the day, we are being tested in those instances by the enemy of like, how will you show up in this situation? Will you love that person even in their filth, even in their sin? Like, Jesus saw people. He saw the prostitute. He saw the drunks. He saw the demon possessed in all of their crap. And he loved them and he helped them and he delivered them. And like, we as women have that power and have that authority. Like, I mean, you might not just go up to your husband and be like, I cast you out, demon, in Jesus' name. Like, you could totally do that. I don't see a problem in it. But really, it's coming down to loving them and praying for them and fasting for them. Like, that is what we can control, and that's what we can do. We can't control that other person's actions. And I remember like the time in our marriage where Nicholas had to clean carpets for his dad's business. His dad got in a really bad accident and we just like needed the money. We were like completely broke. And so he decided to run his dad's business, basically making no money. And he just became depressed, like he was not on fire. Like, we weren't being fed spiritually at a church. And he just fell into like a slump, like life was hard. He was having to clean carpets all day long, like getting treated like crap from people because he was like looked at as lesser than, and cleaning up poop and pee and blood off people's carpets. Like, it was not a glamorous job. And so he got depressed and he got down and he started playing this little app game on his phone all the time because he was down. And when he wasn't working, he would go to the golf course and hit like 200 balls because he was like, I have to get good at something. So he was like grinding it out on the golf course, and he'd come home. And instead of like, I don't know, trying to figure out ways to like grow a new business, because we were like entrepreneurs at heart, he was like playing this video game all the time. And I remember just like looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, I'm over here trying to learn online coaching and I got my personal trainer's license. Like, I was hustling, trying to build an online fitness business and to get us, successful. So he didn't have to like clean carpets for the rest of his life, and us like have to bring a baby into this world with, just certain circumstances that I just knew that God called us to more. And we both knew that God called us to business. So he just got down and in the rut. And it's like, was I going to leave him because he wasn't perfect and he wasn't, like diving into the word of God? He wasn't on fire for God. He wasn't on fire for anything. He was depressed. Like, what did he need in that instance? Was he needed love. He needed support. And I tried to give that to him the best that I could. I probably was not perfect in any way. I probably made mistakes, but I knew that I couldn't control him. I just prayed for him and I just led by example. I went out there and I was, taking care of my health. I was happy. I was trying to grow this business. I was, worshiping Jesus. I was reading my Bible. Like, I still was doing those things, because I knew that if he saw me doing it, like, it would hopefully eventually rub off on him. And so there's just times where like your spouse is not going to be perfect. And yes, they, they might love Jesus and maybe they don't, but like, how do you still submit to them? You know what? In the Bible, here's what it says. It says, so again, I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. There is no like, you must respect your husband if he does X, Y, Z. There is none of that. And I wish there was. Honestly, I wish there was like, well, you only need to respect your husband if he's providing well and he's in shape and he's going after God and he's reading his Bible every day and like he's this great father. Like, that is not in the Bible. In the Bible, it talks about to submit to our husbands and to respect him. So certain decisions, certain things you will not agree with as the woman. There will be stuff that you're like, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I don't believe in that. But God, I trust you, and I trust that you gave me this husband for a reason. And even if he makes a mistake, it's okay. I'd rather submit to him and have him see me as a wife who loves him and will submit to him. And even if he makes a mistake, that's okay. I will love him through that. And God will still bless me through my action. He sees me. God sees me. Because that's the most important thing, is do everything unto the Lord. That is what we're commanded to do. So in our marriage, are we loving and respecting our husband as we are loving Jesus? There are so many couples and pastors. I mean, oh my goodness. These pastors can be messed up, guys. They can be the worst. Like, I've heard crazy stats that when pastors have like a conference, that like the porn usage like goes like skyrocket because all these pastors are like watching porn. Like, it's terrible. Because at the end of the day, we are all sinners and people aren't perfect. And obviously we've seen that recently in the Christian community. Like the main singer in Newsboys was using cocaine, and I guess he touched men inappropriately. So like, you never know. So do not put your trust in man. Put your trust in God, because man will always fail you, but God will not. And so just realize, like, your spouse is not perfect, and they never will be, and you will never be perfect. But we are called to love each other through it all. And this is the testing. This is the sanctification that the Christian walk has, is you can love all these people from a distance. You can love your followers. You can love, friends that you see every now and then. But can you love the spouse that you're with every single day, that knows how to, tick you off and knows all your little triggers and all of the things? Like, can you love them the way that Christ loves us? That is the ultimate test. And I love in James 1:2, consider it a sheer gift, friends, when tests and challenges come at you from all sides. You know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open and shows its true colors. So don't try to get away out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well-developed and not deficient in any way. So in our marriage, we will be tested. We will go through hard seasons and challenges and put under pressure and feel like, I want to leave this person. I can't do this anymore. Like, that is when we have to die to our flesh. We have to die to ourselves and our feelings and our crazy emotions as women, and be like, you know what? I'm going to love them. I'm going to put all this stuff aside. I'm going to ask God to have me see my spouse through his eyes, not through my own. How can I love this person the way that Christ loves me and Christ loves him? Like, how can we do that? How can we be that physical representation of Jesus in their life? And there's an amazing story that I heard about Smith Wigglesworth. So Smith Wigglesworth is an amazing revivalist. So many miracles this guy performed, like through the power of Jesus, and so many people got saved. But here's the thing, guys. He was not a Christian. His wife was the Christian, and he treated her terrible. I mean, absolutely awful. I guess one time, and this is the time that got him saved, was he locked his wife out of the house when it was like snowing and just was like, I can't stand this woman. Like, I gotta get rid of her. So he was basically like, she was going to freeze to death. And he went out there and opened the door for her after he was probably like, I can't believe I'm doing this. She came in the house and like cooked him a meal and treated him like a king. And he was like, oh my goodness. He fell to his knees and was like, I have never seen greater love in my life. Like, I'm going to worship the God you worship, because what I just did to you, basically you should like kill me. But instead you're cooking me a meal. And I think she was like putting on his socks or something, or warming up his socks. Like, that is crazy, y'all. Like, I don't think I could do that at this point. Jesus needs to impart a little bit more love to me. But wow, what a testimony. And that is what got that man saved, was his wife's love to her husband. And how many men and women got impacted by Smith Wigglesworth's life. Like, he's one of the greatest revivalists for Jesus. So many wives are like, I don't have much of an influence, or I don't have, that big of a calling. I'm just a wife. I'm just a mom. And it's like, wow, your influence on your husband, your influence on your kids could change thousands and hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people's lives. Like, you just do not know. So that's kind of my spiel for this episode, is that women are looking for perfect men. If you're single right now, please don't look for a perfect man. Yes, look for a man who loves Jesus, but realize that even them, they might fall. And will you still love them through that? Will you still honor the covenant and honor the commitment that you make at that altar of till death do us part, that I will love you in sickness and in health? Like, will you honor those vows? And, I know a woman whose husband had done several affairs, guys, like several. And she was like, I'm not going to leave him. I'm still going to be there. Like, yes, she kept her distance from him for a little bit, but they are reunited and they are healing. And it is so beautiful to watch. Like, God has encountered this man. He's like on fire for Jesus. He's showing up as a husband and a father. And, for this woman, like, she is such a woman of faith. And I'm just so proud to know her, because I'm like, wow, what a testimony. Like, you have had to heal, you've had to forgive, you've had to have patience, you've had to see the best in the other person. And that's just amazing. And so I'm, just floored by that testimony, and how God has just, completely overwrote that whole story. Like, it was such a terrible story and terrible testimony, to now, like, being on the other side and looking at it, and how they had perseverance. And that's what it talks about in James, is like, do not get out of things prematurely. Let it do its work, so you become mature and well developed and not deficient in any way. And here's the thing, the enemy is out to seek, kill, and destroy. So your marriage is such a beautiful example. Our marriage is the illustration of Christ in the church. And when we realize that we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but we're fighting over the demonic force that is trying to destroy us, we realize, oh, this attack on my husband, this attack on me is not from this other person. It's actually spiritual. So we have to fight the battle spiritually. And that is why I'm talking about praying and fasting for our spouse is the number one thing that we can do. Because most of the time, it's not just like, oh, he's a terrible person, he did these things. It's like, oh no, it's actually the devil trying to destroy a family, trying to destroy this covenant that you've made together. And so have perseverance. Realize that love forgives. Love does not keep score, and it always looks for the best. It never looks back, but it keeps going to the end. Love never dies. So I hope that this leaves you with some conviction, some inspiration, maybe even a challenge for this week of how can I love my spouse better? And if you're not married, how can I maybe reframe my thinking of the spouse that I'm looking for? Because if we become too prideful in ourselves of, oh, I'm so amazing and I don't sin and I'm this perfect Christian and the person I marry can't have any issues, like, you're probably never going to get married, because there's just not a perfect person out there. And we will all have times in our life where we're down, when we're doubting in our faith, when maybe we have let sin come into our life. And we want that person we are married to help us get through those hard seasons. I know I personally went through a super dark season, kind of postpartum, with anger, with rage. I went through a whole thing of this trauma with my family where I literally didn't sleep for like a whole month. It was terrible. And so it's like we want to have a spouse that can help us through the hard times. So I just want to thank you for listening to today's episode. If you need anything, need prayer, need support, please reach out to me at Amanda Bayerle on Instagram, and make sure to subscribe here. You can also subscribe on my YouTube channel when I get videos back on. And yeah, I'm excited for some future episodes, some fun things that I'm working on in the next year. And I love you all, and I'm praying for you.